going to need a president, not just a candidate who can win,
I have
but
an
a president
idea of how
who can
we
move
can
us forward.
stop sexism on the internet. We could nominate a woman for candidate for president of the United States. I think that might go a long way.
Jesus, please. Take the frickin' wheel.
She would have done much better if she were a man. And I say that because it's not just that her campaign was explicitly feminist in terms of the progressive positions on policy. She hired feminists.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if feminists tried to run for the most powerful position in America? Perhaps it would be inspiring. It would shatter that pesky glass ceiling, and it would prove to every bigoted American man that a woman can be president. Or it'd be a complete laughingstock, they'd fail dramatically in the polls, and they'd end up dropping out before you can even say sexism is to blame. How do you honestly think a feminist bid for president would go down? Newsflash, it goes down like Jeffrey Epstein at a daycare. Terrifying. What's up everybody, it's your favorite gay-looking straight boy Hunter Avalone here, back with another video. Don't forget to smash that like button to elect me president of the world. Today we are getting a tad more political as we look at two feminists who recently tried and failed to become president of the United States. Now, as we all know, like a massive clown car, the Democrats seemingly had unlimited candidates who were vowing to beat Donald Trump. However, there were two very special someones running a feminist TM campaign, Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar, both of whom received a dual endorsement from the New York Times. Wow. Now, of course, you've all heard of Elizabeth Warren, but the second feminist, Amy Klobuchar, doesn't get nearly enough recognition for how painfully dumb she is. So, let's start with her and find out what happens when a feminist tries to run for president. Amy Klobuchar was elected to the Senate in 2006, and she became the first woman senator to represent Minnesota. She is a strong supporter of abortion and has received a 100% rating from Planned Parenthood. Well, Amy, congratulations. You've won. But at what cost? Pretty soon after announcing her bid for president, some pretty concerning allegations came to light. Staffers, along with documents, detail how Klobuchar allegedly abused her staff. She demeaned and berated her staff almost daily, subjecting them to bouts of explosive rage and regular humiliation within the office, according to interviews and dozens of emails reviewed by BuzzFeed News. Allegations that she threw office supplies at people and even once ate her salad with a literal comb after berating her staff for forgetting to pack her a fork. It seems Klobuchar was only breaking the glass ceiling by pitching a stapler at it. Of course, her defenders claim that these allegations were, wait for it, sexist. Well, I must be a blind kid crossing the street, because I did not see that coming. You hear that, boys? Destroy the patriarchy by letting your female boss destroy your dignity. Despite these concerning claims, Klobuchar went on to earn the endorsements of Feminist Majority, Emily's List, and Women Winning. But Klobuchar was very far from being a woman winning. In fact, she was really only a woman losing. She proceeded to make a series of asinine statements by pulling the woman card. And as you can guess, this didn't go well. First, in October of 2019, Klobuchar claimed if a woman was running with the same credentials as Pete Buttigieg, she wouldn't stand a chance.
And the last point I made in that article was that of the women on the stage, I'm focusing here on my fellow women senators, of Senator Harris, Senator Warren, and myself. Do I think that we would be standing on that stage if we had the experience that he had? No, I don't. Maybe we're held to a different standard.
Yes. The gay guy was beating you because of sexism. That makes loads of sense. Can you please, pretty please, get a new argument and stop being so painfully cliche and predictable? This is just an idea, but maybe, just maybe, you're a bad candidate and it has nothing to do with what's between your legs. Moving on, who can forget this wonderful claim?
Stop sexism on the internet. we could nominate a woman for candidate for President of the United States. I think that might go a long way if we showed our stuff as a party.
Ah yes, that's why when Obama was president, racism vanished. You don't need me to explain that this is not an argument. This is a get out of jail free card by replacing it with the woman card. It's a cheap way to use your status as a female to gain brownie points and gain the approval of the virtue signaling audience. Speaking of arguments, I think that's another reason why Klobuchar just didn't make it. Her stage presence was pretty bad. Take a look at this clip of her debating Pete Buttigieg.
And we're not able to speak to literally the first thing about the politics of the country to ourselves.
Are you trying to say that I'm dumb, or are you mocking me here, Pete?
I'm saying that you shouldn't trivialize that
I made an
knowledge.
error. People sometimes forget names. I am the one that has, number one, has the experience based on passing over 100 bills. If I could respond, this was a pretty big allegation.
You can tell she's getting easily flustered, frustrated, and her comeback suggests that she's taking Pete's arguments personally. She responds by asking Pete if he thinks she's dumb. This comes off as taking offense rather than proving her own point. This also comes off really defensive rather than being in control of the argument, and if she's having this much trouble debating the scary sexist gay guy, I can't imagine how she'd survive against Donald Trump. Finally, after a tattered, struggling campaign, on Monday, Amy Klobuchar dropped out of the race. The patriarchy won. Cue the sad music. During her entire presidential bid, she never threatened to win any of the 4 states on the nominating calendar, and despite her claims that she could be the moderate to unite the party and beat Donald Trump, she won only 2 of the pivot counties in Iowa that twice voted for Obama. She leaves the race with only 7 delegates. Klobuchar is gone, resulting in the New York Times dual endorsement looking like an even bigger joke. But wait, there's more. Because the New York Times also endorsed Senator Elizabeth Warren, the feisty feminist and proud Navajo, Cherokee, gay, woman of color candidate. Maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance for sexism to die and for women to rise.
And I also want to congratulate my friend and colleague, Amy Klobuchar, for showing just how wrong the pundits can be when they count a woman out.
Hey, come on, America. Prove you aren't sexist by voting for Hillary Clinton 2.0. Elizabeth Warren had been quite the character. From her massive DNA blunder revealing she was barely Indian at all, and her cringy attempt at appealing to the youths by drinking a beer on Instagram Live. Her entire campaign seemed as if she was drunk, however, because Elizabeth Warren virtue signaled like no one has virtue signaled before. You see, where Klobuchar was blunt, awkward, and forced with her feminist talking points, Warren kept it more subtle, instead virtue signaling and allowing her insane followers to continue peddling the feminist talking points. Of course, who can forget this gem earlier this year when, according to Huffington Post, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren on Tuesday promised to appoint women or non-binary people to at least half of her top positions in the executive branch if she wins the presidency. You might as well throw in some pansexuals also for the amount of pandering you're doing right here.
Libtard wrecked with dad joke epic style.
Everyone and anyone can see that this is a cringy attempt to appeal to women voters and make yourself appear more feminist. The thing is, I think having a diverse executive branch would be a good thing. Obviously, you want the government to represent the experiences of the citizens. But to make claims like this is obviously just disingenuous wokeness. But wait, because Warren wasn't done virtue signaling yet. No, she had another trick up her teepee. At the end of January, Elizabeth Warren vows a transgender child must approve of Secretary of Education nominee.
I'm going to have a Secretary of Education that this young trans person interviews on my behalf, and only if this person believes that our Secretary or Secretary of Education nominee who is committed to creating a welcoming environment, a safe environment, and a full educational curriculum for everyone, will that person actually be advanced to be Secretary of Education?
What the actual fuck? Look, I get it. I get that you're a progressive, so you have to try to appeal to the woke scolds on Twitter. But this, along with your previous comments about women and non-binary people, make it seem much more like you're using these people, along with their identities, as your own political pawns. This is not being woke. This is trying so hard to look woke, you end up looking stupid. But something much bigger was brewing in the distance. You see, the smoke signals were showing that Sanders was beating Warren in several polls. So Warren had to do something, and she had to do something fast. So she did what any good feminist would do. She pulled the woman card. In a bizarre collaboration with CNN, which I guess is now Cherokee News Network, Warren accused Sanders of sexism and accused him of saying a woman could never be president. Look, I don't care what you think of Bernie. This is obviously stupid and untrue, and this all boiled down to a big he said, she said, revealing one thing. Warren isn't afraid to try and weaponize her status as a woman to try and grow her failing campaign. Hey, I guess if accusing Sanders of sexism doesn't work, you can always hit him with that hashtag #MeToo. Despite her fierce feminism and the virtue-signaling New York Times endorsement, Super Tuesday rolled around, and despite Warren being a senator in Massachusetts, she came in third place in her own state. She lost to Sanders and the bumbling dementia patient, Joe Biden. People are either really, really sexist, or you're just a really, really bad candidate. This humiliating defeat is really all it took, and Warren ended up suspending her campaign.
And I wonder what your message would be to the women and girls who feel like we're left with two white men to decide between.
I know. One of the hardest parts of this is all those pinky promises and all those little girls who are going to have to wait 4 more years. That's going to be hard.
After Warren's embarrassing defeat, it didn't take long for her supporters to respond in typical feminist fashion. They blamed sexism. Salon, the news publication equivalent to Cardi B, writes, "It somehow still felt like a gut punch when Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts formally withdrew from the presidential race on Thursday. After giving it some thought, I think I know why. Because this time, there is no other explanation than raw, unvarnished sexism. It just can't be anything else. If Warren was a man, this would be over by now," is a statement so painfully true that it became a cliche the moment it was first uttered. Cliche, that's definitely one way of putting it. You hear that, sexist boy bros? Warren lost to sexism. It can't be anything else. This is such a cliche approach, and look, I know that sexism can actually be a real obstacle, but to exempt your candidate from responsibility for her own failed campaign and to instead blame something out of her control like sexism is just pathetic, cliche, and weak. But that's not all, because MSNBC had their own little meltdown as well.
Do you think that if Elizabeth Warren were Michael Warren and was a man, same age, same bio, that we would be having this conversation?
No, she would have done much better if she were a man. And I say that because it's not just that her campaign was explicitly feminist in terms of the progressive positions on policy. She hired feminists, black ones.
Hold on, stop. Rachel Dolezal does not count.
But we have never had a woman president. And for some reason, it seems like only women are concerned about this fact. And I would like more men to be vocal about the fact that they want to see women in positions of leadership.
Hi, yeah, look at me. I'm a male, okay, and I can prove it on my premium Snapchat. I want to see women in positions of leadership. I don't want to see virtue-signaling pop feminists in positions of leadership. All in all, when feminists run for president, it doesn't go well. The attempt at being woke and the constant pulling of the woman card didn't serve neither Warren or Klobuchar, and I think it played a huge role in costing them the presidential bid. Honestly, I'm somewhat relieved. I mean, where Bernie wants to send us all to the gulag, these feminist candidates wanted to send our balls to the gulag. It's like socialized circumcision.